Say it, Mercy. Some days, this is a story. Some days, it's just a thought that wants to be shared. A pause, a breath. Lighten your load. Remember to breathe. Let joy find you. Say it, Mercy podcast. Well, a few weeks ago, I had lunch with two friends, and we were laughing and sharing. You know, that kind of lunch that stretches longer than you planned because nobody wants to end that good time, that connection. And somewhere in the middle of it all, almost as a side thought, like it was nothing, one of them mentioned a friend that we have in common who wasn't there. And she said, "Oh, by the way, she is a little intimidated by you." And then she kept on talking. But I didn't. Inside of me, I just listened. I realized something had slipped in. Is she intimidated? My little voice said. Because of what? Am I coming too strong? Am I doing something wrong? All of those little questions, those doubts that come in a matter of seconds. Well, I kept smiling at the table. Nobody in that room knew what had just happened inside of me. And then the next day, another friend called to tell me that someone had spoken very highly of me and that they said I had a gift. I don't even see it in myself. That I make people feel at ease by just being present. She was full of flowers for me. But my first instinct, although laughing and taking it in, was still with that one that had said that another friend feels intimidated by my presence. And even though all those flowers were coming in, I still had that one hanging in the background. And I have been sitting with that ever since that moment. And I finally thought, it's time to look at this. And I think I finally know where it comes from. You know, I have always been a remembering of my childhood. Let's start with I've been a shy child, a very shy, as long as I can remember. And those who know me now as an adult, at this age of my life, always laugh at me when I say I was a very shy person because I'm talkative and I love talking to people. But I was not like that as I grew up. I remember my memory of my childhood as being so shy. I always kept close to my parents. They felt safe for me. So I was that kind of shy that keeps you close to your parents at any gathering, just watching, observing everything in the room, and while looking like you are just standing there. Even then, as a little girl, I knew things. Not because I knew it I had studied it, not that I had any facts that I can prove it, not information that was solid. Something quieter than that. And there was an inner knowing, the kind that doesn't come with an explanation. It just arrives. And I couldn't understand it. But knowing something and feeling safe enough to say it out loud are two very different things. Because every time something rose up in me, every time I felt that quiet certainty that there was always a question waiting on the other side. So every time I gave a little bit of a voice to that knowing that I knew from within, that information that I don't know how I knew, but I knew, I always had someone that would say, "How do you know that?" And that was sufficient for me to just quiet down. I didn't have an answer. I just knew. And then I didn't feel safe enough to continue sharing. I created this story that I had to have a degree, a background, and academia to be able to share my knowings. And because I didn't have a degree, I didn't have a research, I didn't have credentials, I kept myself quiet. I learned to make myself smaller. I learned to dress the knowing in an apologetic little way. You know, like when you just say, "Well, I was thinking, I just thought maybe," almost like if it was a quiet whisper of, "Maybe you want to consider this, but don't pay attention to me. Don't mind me. It's probably nothing." You know those moments where you yourself are doubting about your own inner knowing, the one that your body says is true, it's true. I know. And yet you're doubting it. It stayed with me all for so long. It never left. And it still every so often shows up. And it just stopped letting it take too much space, but it's still there. Years ago, I heard a woman speak. Her name is Brené Brown. Maybe you know her. I think you should know her. She's so well known today. Maybe you have seen her original talk in TED Talk or so many of her books. But for me, her TED Talk, the one about vulnerability, the one that somehow found its way to what feels like every corner of the internet, I remember hearing her and feeling something shifting inside of me. Not because she was teaching me something new, but because she was saying out loud something I already knew. I was connecting to her as if I had known her all my life. She was putting research and credentials out and in a stage behind something that had been quietly living inside of me. So she was naming stuff for me that I had no name to it. Other than I knew it, I felt it, I had those instincts. I had that knowledge. I had that innate knowledge inside of me for years. Not paying attention, not giving it value, just letting them sit there in my memories. And when I heard her for the first time, something me exhale. Not oh, I never thought of that. But instead of, wow, I knew that. I always known that. There's a difference between learning something and recognizing something. Think about it. Learning something or recognizing something. Learning fills you with new information. Recognition feels like coming home. Yeah. All of a sudden it's like, wow, I don't know how I know it, but I know it. And that's what Brené Brown did for me. She didn't give me that knowing. The knowing was already mine. She gave me something else. She gave me permission. Permission is a strange thing, guys. We don't always know. We have been waiting for it until someone gives it to us unexpectedly. And that's the beauty of all these hidden treasures that I share with you. They come in so unexpectedly. And that's what happened with Brene Brown for me. Brene Brown, Vulnerability Talk, her book of imperfections just brought me to that awareness that I didn't even know that I needed, that permission to speak my truth. So for years, I had been shrinking that knowing. I had been dressing it up as a whim, sending it back out of my room, back into thought forms and saying, mercy, you don't know? How could you voice out like if you know? And here it was, Brene Brown, this woman who had done her research, who knew about vulnerability, who was willing to say it out loud, say the uncomfortable thing in front of a room full of strangers, saying this is real. What you feel is real. You don't need to apologize for knowing it. And now, did I wake up the next day? It's not like I listened to her and I woke up a new person. It took me a long time. Reading her books, doing her stuff. I remember doing a webinar through Oprah that she did that I loved because it was arts and craft and painting. And so she didn't transform me just because I heard her many years ago. She quietly gave me the permission to explore. She gave me the opportunity to open the door and start the journey. This journey that I have been in for so long. Because permission is not a switch, you see. It's more like a door that opens just enough for a little more light to come in. And you slowly take your time and slowly open that door in a way that is best for you. And that's why it doesn't work for everybody the same way. I started letting that knowing take up a little bit more space when I would speak up. I would not announce it. I would not perform or go out there and say, I know the truth. But every so often, I started to let my voice come out. And at first, I would disguise it with a little bit, I don't know why, but it just a bubble thought that came to me when you were talking. And that's how I started. to honor my inner voice, that inner knowing that had been with me for the longest time. Not just saying, it's just a thought, I don't mind me, but I started to give it a little bit more emphasis, that it was a bubble thought that was worth for them to explore. And in doing so, it was so funny because it has become Mercy's bubble thoughts in Spanish or in English. Isn't it funny? Just letting it be there, giving me voice, giving me permission when I didn't know I needed permission, was a journey that has brought me to where I am today. Doing this podcast. How many times? I tried it like 3 or 4 times, and now it's like, well, this is the fourth time. And if you listen to my first episode, that quiet beginning, that soul that continues to softly whisper, you can do it. And there's no time and space. Just do it. Doesn't matter. Just do it. Share your voice. Share your story. Guess what? In this episode, when Brené Brown came to my mind, when I was looking at that little doubt of myself, why was I shrinking of, am I doing something wrong that people are intimidated? And then I let go. It's not me, it's them. Because what I get is most people find me in my energy, my sense, warm and easy to talk to. Have you noticed any voice of yours that you never have given voice to? You know, those bubble thoughts that come to your mind and you don't want to voice them because you don't want to be judged. You don't want to be criticized. Hmm. Thankful to that friend that mentioned slightly that intimidation part because it brought me to think of my journey, remembering the full journey I have walked and experimented and explored, and that we are never done. We're always discovering new voices within us. I didn't realize how far that door had opened until that moment, that lunch, that made me review all these moments where all and Brené Brown were coming back to my memory. The wonderful book that I've read from her, all the talks that she had given. And today she's still so active with Adam Grant doing some more work. Who have been lately in your radar and you have not noticed? Who has given you permission and you didn't even notice that they were giving you permission, which made you do something that you normally don't do, that broke you out of your comfort zone? So here I am, a woman who has spent years walking people toward their own knowing, who has sat with strangers and watched them remember things they had forgotten, but they knew. Those aha moments of my clients are so treasured for me because I love to be the witness when someone discovers something they already knew, and all it becomes like the greatest gift they can get because it came from within. It was not me telling them, it was no one else telling them except themselves, giving themselves that gift. So these few weeks have been very impactful for me. And it's interesting because Every time I'm with clients, something stirs with me. Well, when I'm doing podcast, I'm looking what to share with you all. It ends up I do the same walk that I'm asking you to do. Isn't that funny? But extraordinary and amazing at the same time. So sometimes we're handed flowers and we try not to take them. We say, well, it's not a big deal. If it's not a big deal, why are you not accepting it? And when someone gives you a little critique, don't run from it. Go for it. Think about it. What is it that people may judge you or criticize you? Gives you a complete opening of enjoying and embracing a part of you that you have not even realized you've been hiding. So, yes, my little girl, the shy little girl, is still in me. And every so often she comes out saying, is it safe? Is it really safe? Should we be doing this podcast? And I take her and embrace her. And most of the time, I'll tell you what I do. I take my headphones, those red headphones of beat that I have, and I put some music and I let her be able to sing because no one is listening and she can sing her heart out. What is it that you have not remembered? You already know that it's time to give it a voice. The knowing was never the problem. It was never too much. It was never wrong. It just needed to have a little permission. And along the way, I've gotten not only Brené Brown's permission, I did a lot of other discoveries. And that is why today I'm allowing myself to do this podcast. I don't know if you're listening to me for the first time. I don't know if you have always listened to this podcast since it started. But boy, what a journey it has been for me to finally say, it's okay. I don't mind to get out of this uncomfortable, to get into the uncomfortable space and do something different. And Mercy, say it, Mercy. Stay curious. Till the next time. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for honoring your soul's whispers. If today's reflection spoke to you, I invite you to share it or subscribe in whatever way feels natural to you. You're also welcome to connect with me on YouTube or through my Substack's Reflections, where this soulful journey continues. Until next time, may your story unfold with clarity, tenderness, joy, and light.